All right, what up, what up, what up, what up? You already know what to do. It's your boy B-Phil, and it's time to learn something new. Let's jump right into it. So today, we're going to be doing a similar program as we've been doing, taking customer information, passing it to an LLM, getting some structured output, passing that again to the LLM to get some additional structured output. In this case, we have some customer information and some business information. We want to see the likelihood of this particular customer buying from this store or this business. And then we want to go ahead and add them to an email list. And so today, the tool of choice is going to be Instructor. Now, Instructor, as it says here, generating structure for LLMs. Structured outputs powered by LLMs. Designed for simplicity, this is important, transparency, this is very important, and most importantly, control. So this is a very, very bare bones library, and basically its only job is to give you that nice, sweet, structured output with obviously some very, very sensible abstractions. Now, of course, there's always going to be a question of why you pick this or that, but for its usage and what it can allow you to do, it has some very, very sensible ways to interact with LLMs. So you can go to this website, python.useinstructor.com. You can also go and check out this guy, Jason here. He's a very eccentric guy. Check him out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, in traditional fashion, what you're going to want to do is go to that console, right, that Anthropic console, and get that sweet, sweet API key. So console.anthropic.com/dashboard, get API key, and then you're ready to go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the code. So again, you want to initialize your environment, Python, right, Python 3, env, right? Then you want to go ahead and activate that, right? So source, bin activate, right? All that good stuff. And then you want to pip install Instructor, right? You want to pip install Instructor and pip install Python. Here, I'm going to give you all the libraries, python.m, Pydantic, and Anthropic. And you should be good to go there. All right, so once you have all those installed, create that .m file, and then go ahead and copy paste this Anthropic API key equals, and then you're good to go there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk through this code now. So first and foremost, we want to have our imports. We're going to go ahead and bring in Instructor. We're going to bring in the base model from Pydantic. We're going to bring in, of course, load the .environment and Anthropic, and as well as some literals as we've seen in the previous tutorials. Next, we're going to go ahead and load the environment. Now we're going to initialize the client. And so in order to do this, Instructor has some very convenient functions. So from Anthropic, and then all you're going to do is pass in that Anthropic client. And what this is going to do is it's going to wrap the original Anthropic client and give it some additional attributes, as we're going to talk about in just a moment. So next, we're going to go ahead and define our Pydantic models. So we have classify output. We're going to have an explanation that we want to go ahead and output into, and some classification. Is the customer best, mid, or worst? Next, we're going to have some list output, and we're going to have an explanation, and we're going to go ahead and have some email list that it should decide to add the customer to. So it's going to be a list of literals, which could be a cat list, a dog list, or an albatross list, which, albatrosses are really cool. If you haven't seen them, flying or wandering albatrosses, they're really cool. So we're then going to initialize our variables. So we have our customer information. Brandon loves albatrosses, but isn't very fond of dogs. And the business is, of course, a dog store that sells dog toys. Next, we're going to go ahead and create our prompt. So our prompt is going to be classify the customer's likeliness to buy from the business based on the customer information in the business. And then we go ahead and inject in our customer information, and then we inject in our business. And then we go ahead and format our prompt string. So we .format, and we pass in our customer information and our business. Next, we're going to go ahead and get set up to go ahead and get some type of output. So we're going to define response, and we're going to go ahead and destructure this convenience function that Instructor gives us, which is create with completions, and get the actual raw output. And this is important because we can go ahead and dump the cost of this particular call to whatever our logging backend looks like. Wherever your database, wherever you're storing it, you can go ahead and dump all that original call, which is great for tracking anything that's gone wrong or going ahead and improving the system. So we're going to go ahead and use our client, and we're going to call chat and completions. Now you can shorten this as well, but I'm going to go ahead and use it this way. So you can do this as well. And this is the same thing, right? Effectively the same thing. So next, we're going to go ahead and use Claude 3 Haiku. We're going to go ahead and pass in the messages. So again, as you typically see with any LLM, you have a role, which is a user or system or assistant. And then we have some content, which is going to be our prompt. Next, we're going to go ahead and specify this response model. And so this response model basically binds the output of this particular call to the response that we're looking for, which is classify output here. And then we go ahead and specify max tokens is 4,000. Now, one other feature of Instructor is it has max retries built in. So automatically, if the call should fail, right, you get some type of validation error, what it's going to attempt to do based on the max retries that you specified is send in that error. It's going to pin that message, right, to, you see here in this messages, it's going to pin that here. And then it's going to call the LLM again and get it to correct its response. And so this gives you some very, very convenient, very, very convenient functionality out of the box. All right. So we're just going to switch that back. Next, we're going to go ahead and do an assertion. So basically, I want to get better at this particular part. This is the testing part. I've been lacking a lot lately, but basically we're going to say, is response an instance of classify output? If it's not, we'll go ahead and throw some error, which is not the correct output type. But if it is, the program will continue and we'll go ahead and print out the response, or rather the explanation and the classification, and then we'll go ahead and see what the raw output looks like. And so for now, let's just go ahead and run this and see what we get. So we'll go ahead and Python fresh. It's fresh. There we go. We're going to run that fresh.py. All right. So it went ahead and gave us a good output. So based on the customer information provided, Brandon seems to have a low likelihood of buying from the dog store. Okay, great. And so I'm the worst type of customer for a dog store. And then you see here, it gives us the anthropic output that we would expect, which is the content and the text block. And then we still get the model here. And then the important part, or one of the more important part for your actual business, is this usage here. And so we get to see the input tokens 221 and the output tokens 76. So let's go ahead and chain on the next run here. So we're going to go ahead and specify the list prompt, determine the correct email list that the customer should be added to based on the classification in the business. So then again, we're going to pass that classification that we just got back, which is the previous response. And then we're going to pass in the business, which we already had before, which was the dog store that sells dog toys. Great. So then we're going to go ahead and create a new list response and then a list raw variable. And we're going to go ahead and call chat completions and then create with completions. And again, we're going to have the same thing here, except for we're going to change the response model to list output. And that is it. Next, we're going to go ahead and assert the actual response again, right? So we can check if it's correct. And then we're going to go ahead and print out everything oh so nicely. So let's go ahead and list raw, and let's just go ahead and run this again. Let's see what we get. All right, so we see right here, and I should probably make this a bit prettier, but it's okay for our purposes now. So based on the given information, the customer's likelihood to buy is low. Okay, so it's printing this out. Okay, Brandon loves avatars but not very fond of dogs. Since the business is a dog business, sell toys, it does not align well with Brandon's interest preferences, and he's particularly interested in dogs. Therefore, the customer buys low. Okay, so it said that twice, and we're printing this out. So it's printing out a similar explanation here. And then it goes ahead and gives us the albatross list. So we can see that it went ahead and chose the correct list because Brandon loves albatrosses, right? B-Phil loves them albatrosses. So let's go ahead and clear this. And so that's pretty much all you need to know about Instructor. There are some additional ways that you can use this. You can use it with Fast API because it has this Pydantic integration here, as you can see. But what I want to show you is a little bonus. And that's really going to be doing some simple evaluations. And so I want to show you just a slight method here. So we can go to the Claude.ai website. And if you don't have access to this, well, that's unfortunate. But if you do, then you can kind of follow along here. So what I went ahead and did was generate a large amount of data that is similar to what I already have. So let's just kind of step through this prompt so we can see how we can evaluate this particular prompt and then iterate on it to improve. And so I wanted to generate 20 more examples of customer information in industry that have a similar pattern. And then I went ahead and put in what I had and put in the code, right? The Pydantic model and then some assertions. And then it started printing some stuff out. I didn't really like that. So I just iterated on it here. And really, I'm just trying to show you all the process of getting similar outputs, generating the synthetic data, and then being able to test, right? Because it's important that you test and you get the best accuracy possible, but really realize the edge cases of your program so that if it can't do certain things, you tell your customers that ahead of time. And then you work on improving it. All right, so only output the customer information, industry, and a valid email list that each could be added. And then it started doing this again. I didn't really like this output. And this is haiku, mind you. And then I said combine all of the lists and the literals, and then boom, it gave me all these, which was great. And then I had it give me this, right? Which is a dictionary of int as the keys, which I didn't really like very much. And so then I said, make it a list of objects instead. And then it did this, which this is great for our purposes. We can go ahead and just dump this in an examples file. And that's exactly what I did. So I dumped it in an examples file, and then I went ahead and loaded in that example. So this is a very similar program, but you can go ahead and look here. So I just added these additional literals. I created a new class here, and this is really an example so that we can initialize each example from the examples file and pass them in to the actual function that I've created here called run test. And so we pass in the actual Pydantic types, pass in the client, and of course we pass in this example. Next, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and print out the example when we start running it. And then we're going to go ahead and initialize the customer information in the industry with the actual example information. We're going to format the prompt, of course, and then we're going to go ahead and get the response and the raw output, right, with this classification output. Now, of course, you can do this test however you see fit, right? Specify this function however you see fit. But what this gives us here is we get this nice assertion here, so we can get the response in the actual classification output as we've passed into this function, right? Then we go ahead and do the same for the actual list. And then we go ahead again, and it's going to give this error and drop, and this is not going to be a correct output, right? Because we want to mainly test that it's JSON right now. And so then we're going to go ahead and print this email list, right? And then we're going to go ahead and do the assertion yet again, and then we go ahead and complete the example. So we go ahead and open the file, great. We go ahead and load in our examples, and then we go ahead and initialize correct to 0. And what we're really trying to test on this first initial run is just getting JSON output. And so we're going to go ahead and run this. So Python start.py, and it's starting, okay, parent list. And this is going to take a few moments, but we're seeing, okay, pass. We're getting some good passes here. All right, and we got an error. Does not contain the list, which that's another check, right? It failed there. It doesn't contain the actual list that it should expect. We got another pass here. Great, another pass. And I want to show you just really quick. So we're going to assert that the actual correct. So this is the actual email list that is correct for this example, right? And we're just going to say, is that inside of what was given to us via the actual model? And then if it doesn't, then we're just going to say, hey, it doesn't contain it. And then that's incorrect, right? That's another check for this particular test. Now, again, this is an iterative process. So as you continue to iterate on this program, you start to get these additional assertions and tests, and then you keep testing that it makes sure to make sure that your program operates effectively for this task. And so you can see here, finished, 18 out of 19. So this is about 99%. Not bad, right? So anyways, hopefully you learned something. That was Instructor utilizing Anthropic. So now what you can go ahead and do is hit the like button, right? Go ahead and hit the subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see more of. And then the most important thing that I want you all to go and do right now is just get up and go build. All right, it's your boy B-Phil. I'm out. Peace.